In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to another Room to Breathe podcast. I'm your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so happy that you made space to be here with us today. Now, before we get into today's episode, do me a quick favor. If you're feeling our vibe, go ahead and show some love. Tap the screen, like, comment, but most importantly, I need you to share this out with someone who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here or you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that follow button. Subscribe to our channel so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to check out our digital home at theselfcareclub.org, where you will find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch, as well as a ton of free resources to help nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So today, I encourage you to give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and to make space for peace, for growth, but most importantly for you. And if anything in today's episode hits home, drop a green heart in the chat. That is our community's way of saying I am healing, I am growing, and I am showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Today, we are going to talk about the personal attacks that we create. Okay? Welcome in, Thick Classy Queen. Welcome. Thank you so much for sharing the live, Gigi. We're going to talk about how we tend to internalize things and make everything an attack, right? I had just been thinking about this topic yesterday, and I was like, this is a really good talking point for us. I think it'll be a really good conversation just to discuss how everything isn't an attack, right? Sometimes it's just accountability. And so today's conversation is one that we don't always want, but is definitely one that we need, right? Because we know that healing isn't just sage and soft playlists or journaling on Sunday morning. Healing also shows up as maturity. It shows up as honesty. It shows up as responsibility, especially for the energy that we bring into the room, right? See, we love the parts of healing that feel gentle, but growth will also hand you the kind of truth that taps you on your shoulder and says, it's time to look at you now, right? At some point in your healing journey, you realize, it's me, right? And that's where today's message comes in. We're going to unpack the truth that I hope will stretch you, sharpen you, and bless your future self. Again, everything isn't an attack. Sometimes it's accountability. And I know this one sits a little heavy in my heart. And I'm pretty sure some of you will agree, right? Especially if you've spent years surviving and defending. Welcome in, Kale. Big Nay, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the heart me. So again, for those of you who have spent years, just surviving, defending, or maybe even shrinking to stay safe, right? When you've been hurt, even love can feel loud. When you've been betrayed, even truth can feel threatening. When you've been dismissed, even support feels suspicious. So I hope that you guys stay with me, right? Stay open, stay present, because again, this is my disclaimer. This session might just be the breakthrough that your spirit has been quietly praying for. The shift you needed, but didn't know how to ask for. The clarity that you've been circling around but couldn't quite name. So breathe with me, y'all, and let's walk gently but honestly into this conversation. I think that it's time to grow in a way that doesn't just protect your peace, but it elevates your character, your connections, and your capacity to love and be loved well, right? Like Brooke said, it's time to buckle up, Buttercup, because we're doing this. All right, guys. So when I want to talk about when your reaction is your first line of defense. Christian Empowers, welcome in. Right? Let's just tell the truth straight out the gate, y'all. What my girls say on TikTok, right off the rip. For so many of us, the moment somebody offers us feedback, even the soft kind, right? Even the kind that's meant to help us, our whole spirit jumps on defense mode. Not because we're wrong. It's not because we're unteachable. It's because somewhere along the way, being corrected and being attacked started to feel like the same thing. Some of us grew up in households where feedback came as yelling. Some of us loved people who used our mistakes as weapons. Keith No Sweat, welcome in, bro. Some of us were taught that any flaw made you unworthy or unlovable or unsafe. So now as adults, we don't hear correction. We hear danger, right? We hear judgment. We hear rejection. We hear echoes of our old wounds that were never healed. They were just hidden. And that's why the reaction looks different for all of us. Sometimes it's loud, right? And when I say like sometimes your reaction is loud, I'm talking about snapping back, shutting down a conversation, or maybe even going toe to toe when you feel cornered. Sometimes your reaction is quiet, withdrawing, shutting people out, disappearing emotionally, or pretending we don't care. And sometimes it's shutting down the whole situation, right? I was notorious back in the day for shutting down the entire cookie operation, y'all. Welcome in, Butterfly, right? Blocking, avoiding, ghosting, convincing ourselves that the person was just hating on us when really they were just trying to help. But here's the truth that we have to sit with. Defense doesn't always mean danger. Sometimes it means something inside of you needs attention. Sometimes your reaction isn't about the moment, it's about the memories. It's about the person. It's about the patterns. It's not always about the message. It's about the wound that the message has brushed up against. When accountability feels like an attack, it's often because you're not used to being held, right? You're used to being hurt. And I don't know about you, but for me, that hits deep. And, I think that many of us have never really experienced correction rooted in love, right? We only know correction that's rooted in control, shame, punishment. So when someone comes along and says, hey, I see something that you may want to look at, your inner child hears, you messed up, you're bad, you're failing. But in reality, you're not failing, you're feeling. And there's a difference, right? Because when you start feeling, those emotions, those feelings, they deserve compassion, not judgment. And so this is the moment where healing begins, where you just pause long enough to ask yourself, why did that hurt me so much? Why did that touch me like that? What is this reaction really trying to protect? And that's where the work really begins, right? It's not about defending yourself, it's about discovering yourself along the way. But we have to understand that healing requires you to hear yourself. There comes a point in every healing journey where you have to slow down and breathe and ask yourself the hard, necessary question. And that's, is this person actually correcting me? Or is my ego correcting them in my head? Because again, if we're being honest, sometimes people aren't attacking us. They're simply telling us the truth. But the version of us that learned how to survive, not thrive, hears the truth as a threat. And healing requires something deeper than emotional reaction. It requires emotional listening. And I think that that's, the hardest, right? It's one of the hardest things for us to be able to do. And that's because I think one of the hardest people for us to listen to is ourselves, right? But we have to understand that accountability isn't a judgment. It's just simply like a mirror, right? A mirror that God places gently but firmly in front of you. A mirror that will show you things that you didn't always want to see. When I think about those mirrors, I think that they show you the tone that you didn't realize you were using. It shows you the places where your boundaries bend until they break. It shows you the patterns, right? The ones you swear that you've healed from, but still repeat themselves when you feel tired or triggered or overwhelmed. It also shows you habits, right? Habits that you've picked up when you were in survival mode. The ones that don't serve the woman or the man that you're becoming. It shows you the blind spots, the tender places and the unhealed hurt that gets touched easily, but very rarely does it get explored. And if I've learned nothing else, one thing about them mirrors, honey, they don't lie. They don't flatter. They just reflect, right? The mirror doesn't add a filter. It doesn't soften the image and make it pretty. It doesn't distort reality to make you comfortable. And that's why accountability can sting. Not because it's cruel, but because it reveals what you've been ignoring and avoiding and excusing. See, we love to believe that we're grown, right? Each and every one of us, we think we grown until growth asks us to actually change something. We love to believe that we've healed until healing asks us to address a wound that we've been tiptoeing around. We love to believe that we're self-aware until someone gently points out a part of us that we refuse to look at. And so sometimes the most loving thing another human can do, especially someone who wants to see you win, the most loving thing that they can do is help you see what you're walking past. Right? And it's not to shame you, it's not to judge you, it's not to diminish you. It's to align you, to grow you, to remind you that the woman you're becoming deserves truth. Because accountability isn't meant to break your spirit. It's meant to bring you back to yourself. And so we've got to understand that there is a difference between harm and help. Right? Not every correction is criticism. Not every truth is an attack. And not everyone who challenges you is trying to hurt you. Some people in your life actually want to see you win. Some people are praying for your growth behind closed doors. Some people love you enough to say, "Hey, that wasn't your best. Let's look at that. Let's talk about it." And if I'm being honest, in the world that we live in today, that kind of love is rare, right? Because it takes courage to tell somebody the truth. It takes maturity to call someone higher without tearing them down. It takes intention to show up with honesty instead of enabling. But I think that so many of us struggle with this because we're used to chaos. We're used to criticism wrapped up in cruelty. We're used to walking on emotional eggshells. And so, because we've grown so comfortable in that, now healthy accountability feels like a punishment. And so that's the thought that I've just been kind of sitting with, like I said, for the past couple days. The why, right? Why is this so easy for us? And the only answer that I could really come up with is that it's because your body remembers the difference, even when your mind doesn't. I think about I think about when I'm taking care of my mother-in-law. As many of you know, I'm one of the caretakers for my mother-in-law who has dementia, right? And so we know that with dementia and like Alzheimer's, our mind is, I'm not going to say gone, but the memories and the things that we know to do mentally just kind of fade, but our body still knows what to do, right? We kind of operate on muscle memory. And so that's what as I sit and I watch mom, and I was asking myself this question of why this week. Again, that's why I came up with the answer that our body knows the difference, even when our mind doesn't, even when our memories fade and, we don't process things mentally the way that we used to, but our body still remembers. And, over the years, your nervous system learned a long, long time ago to brace itself for impact. You learn to shrink, to defend, to explain, to justify, all in the name of staying safe. So now when someone says something like, "Hey, hold on now, that came off a little bit harsh," or they tell you something like, "You may want to check how you responded to that," or "That decision wasn't aligned with who you're becoming," you immediately, have the instinct to, "I got to protect myself," right? Not to reflect, which is what we should do, but immediately we're like, "I got to protect myself. They coming for me," right? It's time for me to clap back. It's time for me to spring into action. But really, no, it's just time for you to reflect. Thank you, butterfly. Because we have to understand that we're not that person anymore, right? I'm not that woman that I used to be. You're not in that season anymore. You're not under that roof anymore. And the people who love you now, they're not trying to harm you. They're trying to help you heal. And so maturity is learning to slow down long enough to ask, is this person trying to tear me down, or are they actually trying to build me up? And don't get me wrong, y'all. It's still some, bad characters, bad actors. Some people really are just hating, but not everybody is a hater. And the truth is, the right people, they don't correct you to control you. They correct you to support you. They correct you to protect your character, your calling, your future. And so this is where discernment comes in, right? Because there are some people who correct you because they see something in you worth protecting. And yeah, we know that the wrong people, they criticize you from a place of ego, right? But the right people hold you accountable from a place of love. And I'll be honest with you, something that healing is going to teach you over and over again is that love without accountability is enablement. Love without accountability is just enablement. And accountability without love is abuse. But love with accountability, that's alignment. I'm going to say that again for my note takers because I need y'all to get this. Love without accountability is enablement. Accountability without love is abuse. But love with accountability, that's alignment. When someone speaks life and truth into you, that is not harm, that is help. And the moment you can tell the difference, your relationship will shift. Your self-esteem will shift. Your healing will deepen because you finally stop fighting people who are actually fighting for you. So we have to learn how to use our triggers as teachers. You know, we live in this environment where, honey, everybody is triggered. We all triggered. You know, from what we watch, something that we hear, something that someone does, maybe we triggered quickly. And I think that this is, you know, another part where healing gets uncomfortable, but it's still transformative, right? Because so often what we label as offense is really just unprocessed pain. What we call, you know, they're attacking me is really just a trigger that is whispering, hey, there's something in you that you still haven't tended to. And I know we don't all like the word trigger, right? We don't like to be triggered because we think that it makes us look weak or dramatic or overly emotional. But triggers aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of wounded places asking, begging to be healed. Look at it like this. A trigger is simply an alarm system. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It means that something happened to you that still needs attention. And triggers show up where your heart remembers what your mind is trying to forget. Right? They come dressed as defensiveness, shutting down, sensitivity, overreacting, withdrawing, feeling embarrassed or exposed, assuming someone meant harm when they didn't. So I need you to hear me clearly. Your triggers aren't trying to sabotage you. They're trying to signal you. They're saying, hey, there's a part of you that still needs care. There's a memory that still holds charge. There's a truth that you still haven't faced. There's a version of you that didn't get what he or she needed at the time. And that's why certain comments hit harder than they should. Somebody says something and you're carrying it with you longer than you should. Right? That's why certain tones feel familiar when they're not really threatening. Sorry, guys. That's why certain feedback that you receive feels like disrespect when it really ain't, right? Your trigger isn't responding to the past moment. I'm sorry, your trigger isn't responding to the present moment. It's responding to the past moment. And so instead of judging yourself for being triggered, I need for you to start asking yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? What is this wound touching? Right? Why does this feel bigger than what just happened? What story am I telling myself that may not be true? Where am I still tender on the inside? Right? What additional work do I need to do? Because healing isn't about avoiding triggers. It's about understanding them. It's about learning to listen before you react. It's about realizing that your trigger is not the enemy, it's the doorway. It is absolutely a doorway. You know, a trigger is a spotlight on the place where your power is waiting to be reclaimed. And I think the most beautiful part of all of this is that when you start learning from your triggers instead of running from them, your reactions change. Your relationships deepen. Your self-awareness expands. Your emotional resilience grows. You'll stop seeing everything as an attack and you'll start recognizing the areas where accountability is still trying to guide you, not wound you. Your trigger isn't the problem. Your trigger is the teacher, right? One that wants to graduate you into a healthier, more grounded version of yourself. But your healing will require humility. And humility is the part where healing stops trying to be cute and starts being costly. Because there is a price to healing, right? And so if accountability is the mirror, then humility is the courage to look into it without turning away. Humility is the part of growth that asks you to unclench your ego, to soften your spirit, and to admit that you are still becoming. And that becoming requires correction. But again, let's be honest. Most of us don't struggle with the idea of growth. The thought of growth actually sounds good. But what we struggle with is the process of growth. See, it's easy to say I'm healing. Right? Type it in the chat. It's easy to say I'm healing. Nothing to it. I am HEALING. I'm healing. Right? All of us. We're proud to say it. We wear it on our t-shirts, our coffee mugs. We all running around here like I'm healing. Yay. Woo, go you, right? But let me tell you what is hard to say. It's hard to say I was wrong. It's hard to say I overreacted. It's hard to say I could have handled that better. I didn't show up as my best self. I hurt somebody and I didn't realize it. I hurt somebody and I didn't intend to, but I still hurt somebody. See that humility right there? That's uncomfortable because it asks you to lay down your pride so you can pick up your progress. But I want you to know that you can be a good man or a good woman with good intentions and still make mistakes. You can be wise and still have blind spots. You can be healed in some areas and still tender in others. You can love deeply and still mess up relationally. You can be spiritual and prayerful and gifted and anointed and still need someone to lovingly say, sis, bruh, you need to look at that again. Humility doesn't shrink you, it shapes you. It doesn't embarrass you, it elevates you. It's not here to expose you, it is here to expand you. Because humility is not about thinking less of yourself, it's about thinking truthfully about yourself. It says, I'm worthy and I'm a work in progress. I'm powerful and I still have room to grow. I'm healed and I'm still healing. Rise and shine, beautiful. Welcome in, Miss Sherry. I see you. Humility lets you hold two things at the same time. Grace in one hand, growth in the other. Grace for who you were and growth for who you're becoming. And listen, accountability without humility feels like attack. But accountability with humility feels like alignment. When accountability shows up, humility is the part that says, if this is true, if what you're saying is true, I receive it. And if not, I release it. Either way, I'm growing, right? So when someone says something to you and immediately you're like, they hating, they're trying to attack me, they just jealous. No. Instead of trying to balance that energy in the moment, listen, hear what they're saying, and your response is simple. If this is true, I receive it. If it's not, I'll release it. But either way, I'm still growing. All right? And that mindset, that posture, that openness is what separates the person who repeats cycles from the person who rises above them, who rises from them. Humility is how you step into the version of yourself you've been praying for. It's how you learn, how you soften, how you evolve, and most importantly, it's how you make room for God to mold you without your ego getting in the way. The woman that you're becoming or the man that you're becoming can't be built on pride. It has to be built on truth, surrender, and emotional responsibility. And I honestly believe that humility is the doorway. That's how you get in the club, y'all. And the people who love you, they will hold you. Right? The people who genuinely love you, I'm talking about the ones who are aligned with your growth, your purpose, your healing. They won't just celebrate you, they'll also hold you. And when I say hold you, I'm not talking about holding you hostage. I'm not talking about holding you in guilt or in shame. They will hold you accountable to the person that you say you're becoming. You say you're doing better, you say you're healing, I'm gonna hold you to that. So now when I see you sliding back to those old ways, I'm gonna say, butterfly, I thought you was healing, sis. Remember, you said, oh, Helen was gone. So Kale, I can't have you doing that no more. Because that's what you used to do. Right, Angela? That's what you used to do, Miss Sherry. But that's not what we do now. See, there are people in your life who are going to clap for your elevation. But they won't say a word when your behaviors contradict the person that you're trying to be. And we have to watch out for that, right? You really have to pay attention for the people who are here to party and live it up when you have success. But then when you act the you know what, when you showing your behind, right? They ain't got nothing to say. They like, I ain't gonna tell her. You gonna tell her? I ain't gonna tell her. I ain't gonna tell her. Right? And so you have to watch those people, because that's not love. That's comfort. That's convenience, right? That's complacency. But the people who truly love you, they don't sit quietly while you self-sabotage. They don't applaud dysfunction, but keep the like they don't tell you like, oh, she tripping, but it's cool. We just gonna keep the peace. They don't stay silent when they see you slipping back into patterns that they know you just fought your way out of. Real love risks being misunderstood. I'm gonna tell Kel she wrong, and I know that it may piss her off, and it may make her not want to talk to me again, but it's coming from a place of love. So I'm gonna risk her misunderstanding it. I'm gonna risk being taken the wrong way. I'm gonna tell Shonda about herself, and I'm doing it from love, because I need her to understand that she moving backwards. But I'm gonna tell Shonda, girl, that ain't it. And you know what? She might think I'm, being a hater, or that I'm being jealous, but I'm gonna just risk her taking me the wrong way. Real love risks the comfort, the discomfort of saying, sis, I love you. I love you too much to let you stay here. Right, Brooks? Unhinged coach, show up. I love you too much to watch you sit here in this space. And so the people who love you, right, they will pull you to the side gently, thoughtfully, and say, that wasn't aligned. You're bigger than that. You're healing. So don't forget who you're becoming. Hold on, y'all. He doing more than filling my cup up. He just hold tight. Talk amongst yourselves for 2 seconds. We got a breakfast today. Today's breakfast is sponsored by my husband bringing home McDonald's. McDonald's, give us a deal. Thank you. Love you. He just wanted his little 5 minutes of fame on the podcast, y'all. Y'all know how they do. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Now I'm all off track again. All I know is I love y'all, each and every one of y'all, too much to let y'all stay here. The people who love you will pull you aside gently, right? They'll tell you that is not aligned. You are bigger than that. You are healing. Don't forget that, who you're becoming, right? Don't forget who you're becoming. Check your tone. Check your heart. Remember whose you are. Check your intentions, because they're not trying to attack you. They're protecting your becoming. And that is a beautiful thing, to know that there are people in this world who protect who you're becoming. And here's what healing will teach you. It takes a secure individual to receive accountability and a loving community to offer it. When you've spent most of your life being criticized, and when I say criticized, I'm talking about being criticized harshly, abandoned emotionally, or attacked verbally, even kindness feels suspicious. Love can feel loud. Correction can feel cruel. Truth can feel triggering. There's that word again, right? But the more you heal, the more you'll start to recognize the difference between someone trying to control you and someone trying to guide you. Someone trying to shame you and someone trying to shape you. Someone speaking from ego and someone speaking from love. The people who truly love you, they're not going to coddle your wounds. She's so snobbish. Welcome in. They're not going to enable your patterns. They're just going to walk with you. They'll speak to you. They'll check on you in a way that says, I want to see you win for real. And here's the blessing. When you finally heal enough, I'm not saying when you're completely healed. We're not talking about the end of the journey. We're talking about the process now. When you finally heal enough to receive accountability without shutting down or lashing out, you actually unlock a whole new level of intimacy with yourself and other people. You stop confusing love for harm. You stop confusing correction for criticism. You stop confusing accountability with abandonment. And real healthy connection actually becomes possible, right? The kind that nourishes you, challenges you, and grows you. Because accountability isn't punishment. It's partnership, right? It's protection. It's proof that somebody sees your potential. And so as you evolve, you'll notice the shift, right? You'll start craving relationships that sharpen you, not soothe your ego. You'll value people who tell you the truth, not just the things that make you feel good. You'll desire connections where growth is mutual and honesty is safe. That's when you know healing has taken root, when your spirit stops fearing accountability and starts welcoming it as the love language that it truly is. So again, you don't have to pray to be healed. You just have to work towards being healed enough to receive. Now listen, if you're still breathing with me, that tells me something about you. If you're still here and you're still listening, it tells me all I need to know. Okay? It tells me that you're ready for a new level of growth. It tells me that you're ready to stop taking everything personally and to start taking your healing seriously. It tells me that you're ready to step into the man or the woman you've been whispering prayers about. The one who leads with love, leads with wisdom, lives in intention, right? So I want you guys to breathe this in one more time. Everything is not an attack. Sometimes it's accountability. And I know that accountability is not always comfortable. It doesn't always feel soft. It doesn't always feel soothing. Sometimes it feels like exposure. Sometimes it feels like confrontation. Sometimes it feels like someone touched a bruise that you forgot was still tender. But listen, healing will not always protect your feelings, but it will always protect your future. Remember that accountability is not here to embarrass you. It's here to build you, to stretch you, to remind you that the version of you that you're becoming requires more honesty, more maturity, more discipline, and more self-awareness than the version of you that you're leaving behind. And the beautiful thing is that you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to remain present. You just have to stay open. Open enough to listen without instantly defending. Open enough to reflect before reacting. Open enough to receive the truth, even when it stings a little. Open enough to let your people love you through the uncomfortable parts. So I want you to pay attention this week to your reactions. Notice where you tense up. Notice where you get offended quickly. Notice where you shut down or you shift blame. And it's not to judge yourself, but it's to begin to finally understand yourself. Because accountability isn't the enemy. Your healing doesn't come to attack you, it comes to awaken you. We woke now, right? And now that we know better, we have no choice but to do better. And I promise you, the man or the woman that you're becoming can handle the truth with grace. You can hold correction without collapsing. You can love yourself enough to say, I needed to hear that. I can do better. Right? I'm growing and I'm grateful. If this message touched your spirit today, go ahead and flood the chat with green hearts for me. If it touched on anything that you can relate to today, just let me know my message was received. And if you feel led, I hope that you'll share this episode out with someone who's maybe stuck in defensiveness, but you can tell that they're craving growth. Thank you, guys. Remember, a lot of us don't ask for accountability, but we definitely, desperately need it, right? And again, guys, if you need resources, if you need affirmations or a little soul nourishment, y'all know where to find us. Go to selfcareclub.org, your digital home for healing and community, healing out loud, one breath at a time. Right? Rome wasn't built in a day. It took us how many years to get to where we are today? So we have to show ourselves grace. We have to give ourselves the space, the room to get through, to unlearn. So again, head over to the website so that way you can tap into some of the resources. There are a lot of free resources available. I thank you guys for making space to breathe with me today. And before we part ways, I do want to just leave you all with a little love and light. As always, I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every single moment in between. I want you to keep choosing peace. Keyword choosing. Keep choosing peace. Even when it feels out of reach, even when the people around you are making your life hell, I need you to choose peace. And know that here at this self-care club, you will always be seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't be afraid to take up space, to speak your truth and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life. And I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, And yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast. I look forward to connecting with you all again real soon. Remember, tomorrow's Friday, so we will be on YouTube tomorrow. And y'all, listen, let me take this little opportunity to say, the month of December, y'all, with our feature Fridays, we ending this year strong, y'all. We have the men. The men have shown up in the building. I know we have been hearing the ladies, but listen, y'all, the men said, hold on, sis, I got this. And so the entire month of December, our feature Fridays are all the fellas. They wanted to make sure they got the pour into us before 2025 ended, y'all. And I am so proud of them. Tomorrow is a conversation with Coach Akita, the bridge coach. Y'all, if y'all been seeing the teasers, I've been putting the little teasers out there. Y'all know that bro is about to show up and drop some gems. Okay, y'all gonna see some familiar faces. Y'all gonna meet some new faces. But I'm telling y'all, please, please, please join me on Fridays this month on YouTube. It is exclusive to YouTube. So TikTok, go to YouTube. Subscribe to the Room to Breathe project. Join us for that chat tomorrow. Because listen, even just the topic with me and bro was a blessing. I was so excited to talk to him, to all the fellas this month. Let me point that out, to all the fellas. But our conversation tomorrow is know yourself, grow yourself. We're going to talk about the true measure of a win. So y'all come on, join us on YouTube tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come get your cup filled, okay? But again, I look forward to connecting with you all again soon. Have an amazing day. If you guys want to join me for the after party, come on over to TikTok, YouTube. Come on. We won't finish getting our praise on for the day to set the tone. But I will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you. Have an amazing day, you guys.